Now on Fox 13 News at 9, transgender athletes are banned from school sports.
And it makes me sad to think that this is why we're here.
Our intent here is to protect women's sports.
The Utah State Legislature overrides the governor's veto of the transgender sports bill. We'll take you inside the debate.
But what happens next?
As disheartening as this is, we know we have an ally in the governor right now.
Tonight, those who are pushing back, why they say this fight isn't over yet.
Allowing men to compete with women is an absolute mockery of everything that people have done for us.
Plus, the people who say this was the right thing to do, and the potential backlash that the state may soon face. Thanks for joining us for Fox 13 News at 9. I'm Bob Evans. Kelly has the night off. After a heated debate on Utah's Capitol Hill today, state lawmakers banned transgender athletes from girls' sports in Utah schools, despite Governor Spencer Cox's veto. We have team coverage of this developing story tonight, starting with Fox 13 News political reporter Ben Winslow.
The House and Senate flipped enough votes to override the governor's veto. Now a lawsuit is expected over the legislature's actions.
I think Utah is in a very unique situation.
Lawmakers voted to override Governor Spencer Cox's veto of the bill banning transgender children from playing school sports.
It preserves the integrity of women's sports.
If it were about fairness, we wouldn't have passed this version in the last hours of the session without any public comment.
I don't believe anybody wants children to die.
Facing some re-election challenges and pressure from social conservatives, many lawmakers flipped their votes.
It's a political theater, and it makes me sad to think that this is why we're here.
We also harm the trans community.
One senator refused to vote to override, saying it may cost him his political career.
And if I lose my race, then I lose my race standing for what I believe in, like I always have.
On the last night of the legislative session, lawmakers passed a ban, but in the event of a lawsuit, it reverts to a special commission to evaluate whether a transgender child can play a sport consistent with their gender identity. The governor vetoed the bill, arguing it harms already vulnerable transgender children and leaves school districts open to lawsuits.
I don't think it's fair to the taxpayer because they are still on the hook.
I vote aye.
Lawmakers addressed that in a special session, approving $500,000 for legal bills. The ACLU tells Fox 13 it will sue Utah over the ban.
Our intent here is to protect women's sports and keep women's sports safe and competitive.
Republican leaders on Capitol Hill expect it.
We're anticipating that.
The bill's sponsor pushed back on claims she's picking on transgender children.
As a state, I feel like we've done a really good job of trying to help and support these kids. However, somebody identifying as a girl, I don't believe, based on that alone, should give them the opportunity to deny the rights and opportunities from another girl.
In a statement, the governor reacted to the vote, saying, "I am grateful the legislature recognized that there were serious flaws with House Bill 11 and for the heightened debate and input that legislators were able to receive over the past few weeks. I called a special session to fix at least one flaw in the bill, and we're heartened that the legislature agreed to indemnify school districts and the Utah High School Activities Association from the enormous financial burden that inevitable litigation will have on them. I remain hopeful that we will continue to work toward a more inclusive, fair, and compassionate policy during the interim." On the Hill, Ben Winslow, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Now that this battle in the legislature is done for now, Utahns who've been watching today's vote are already talking about what comes next. Fox 13 News reporter Spencer Joseph spoke with those on all sides of this issue about what they expect will happen. He joins us live tonight from Utah's Capitol Hill. Spencer.
Good evening. At this point, it seems like a matter of time before a lawsuit is filed, and we've established that the ACLU is already planning to do so, saying it's both necessary and inevitable after today. But those on all sides of this topic today say they're ready for the next steps of this debate. As lawmakers were on the floor overriding Governor Cox's veto of the transgender athletics ban, those watching on, inside and outside of the chambers, were ready for what comes next.
I think we knew what the outcome was going to be.
Sunny Washington is the CEO of Tech Leads Utah, the PAC that represents Silicon Slopes.
As much positive PR I can put about, Utah Tech and all these great companies and what they're doing, these dollars are working against us just by the headlines that are out there.
And she feels this debate is not over.
We're disappointed, but from our standpoint, we look at the fiscal irresponsibility of using taxpayer dollars to fight these lawsuits that we know are going to come.
We didn't need to do this in the first place.
Another group gearing up for lawsuits is Equality Utah.
What I really hope going forward is that this bill in its entirety is turned away by the court.
As disheartening as this is, we know we have allies. We know we have an ally in the governor right now.
Even so, they're frustrated with today.
There's no caring for the kids. You could say you care, but caring is an action.
I'm really happy that we have the legislators that oppose this.
On the other side, former collegiate athletes Tiffany Barker and Stephanie Grant are praising the legislature for today's override.
People of Utah are speaking, and the legislators are speaking, and we have a governor who ignored both of that.
Despite the threat of lawsuits, the pair and many others believe this was the right thing to do.
You should always do the right thing regardless of if someone will sue you or not.
Allowing men to compete with women is an absolute mockery of everything that people have done for us.
And as many have messages for those in both houses.
And we want to condemn the zealotry of the legislature.
Thank you for representing Utah. Thank you for listening to the voice of parents.
The future of this issue is long from over.
I hope the whole thing goes away and we can sit down at the table again and figure out a good path forward that's affirming for all girls.
It's really not a fair fight to have biological males and biological females competing in the same place.
And as this debate moves off of Utah's Capitol Hill, continue to stick with Fox 13. We will cover this every step of the way from all sides of this argument as it moves from here into the courts. For now, live on Utah's Capitol Hill, Spencer Joseph, Fox 13 News. Utah.
Spencer, thank you. Salt Lake City Mayor Erin Mendenhall says the legislature's override is not the Utah way, quote unquote. She says she's ashamed at the way politics are being played with children's lives. Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson is also denouncing the veto override. She said to the legislature, your actions have sent a signal at a crucial time that we are not a welcoming community. Our country, our children, and our state deserves better. The Utah Jazz Organization issued a statement calling House Bill 11 discriminatory legislation. The Jazz went on to say, we are committed to our values of inclusivity, mutual respect, and fair play. Beyond basketball, we hope for an equitable solution that shows love and compassion for all our youth. Dwayne Wade, who is part owner of the Jazz, has a daughter who is transgender. There has also been speculation this move by the legislature could lead to the NBA pulling next year's All-Star game from Salt Lake City. A spokesperson with the NBA says the league is working closely, quote unquote, with the Jazz on the matter. Senate President Stuart Adams says any talk of that happening, however, is just rumors.
You know, the NBA hasn't talked to me, and, I've looked at the other 11 other states, and I've yet to see them pull out of those 11 states. So I'm not sure. That seems hypothetical to me.
There is precedent of this happening in other leagues. Last year, Major League Baseball moved its All-Star game from Atlanta to Denver after Georgia lawmakers passed a controversial voting law that some say would have excluded Black and Latino voters. Fox 13 News will track the impact of the transgender athlete ban in Utah schools every step of the way. Stick with us as we provide updates on the air, on your favorite streaming device, and online at fox13now.com. New tonight, Salt Lake police say a minor was hit by a car behind West High School today at about the time school was letting out. Police have not released the age or gender of the victim, who was taken to the hospital in serious but stable condition. The driver, also a minor, is cooperating. Officers have not been able to confirm whether the two are students at West High. There is no suggestion of impairment. A crash team is investigating. A woman is recovering after falling into a manhole in Roy this afternoon. Authorities say she had just gotten off a bus on 900 West at 6000 South, turned north, and fell into the hole. Police say construction there was on the shoulder of the road and the manhole cover had not been put back in place. When she fell, she broke a 2-inch water pipe and got her foot stuck. They were able to turn off the water, use a pulley system, and get her out. She was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. The Utah Highway Patrol says a driver was caught going 108 miles an hour on I-15 in Salt Lake County with a 6-year-old in the car. Troopers say the driver told them they were speeding to get the child to school on time. Troopers say if you are late, just be late. They've been dealing with a rash of extreme speeders. Last year, they stopped 3,500 drivers going faster than 100 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness.
Turning from high speeds to record high temperatures in parts of the state, Utah's Weather Authority, Allison Krogan. It's going to be some weekend.
I know. Getting started today. Speaking of high speeds, people were out boating Deer Creek today. So as I think a kite surfer. I'm not sure if that's the correct term, but Brent, thank you so much for posting this picture in our Facebook group. Top headlines today. We set a new record here in Salt Lake. We made it to 78 degrees. Our old record for today was 75, and we have a chance at hitting 80 degrees this weekend. If we do, that'd be the earliest we've ever had 80 here in Salt Lake City. Then we have some cooler, wet weather early next week, a storm Monday into Tuesday, but for this weekend, increasing clouds and increasing wind this weekend. Temperatures right now still feeling really good. 66 for Salt Lake, 58 in Provo, 61 for Ogden right now, 59 for Logan, 69 down in St. George. And when you wake up tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake, temperatures in the 50s. Records possible again this weekend. Let's talk more about that storm and the temperatures for this weekend coming up.
As war rages and crisis grips Europe, Utahns are standing out in a time of need.
We're almost to a town called Medica.
The role our state has played in supporting Ukraine.
Small population, but with big hearts.
And the impression Utahns have left. It's a story you'll only see here, coming up next on Fox 13 News at 9.
President Biden will continue his trip to Poland tomorrow. He's expected to meet with some of the more than 2 million refugees fleeing the war in Ukraine. A major address on Russia's invasion is also expected.
He'll also talk about the context and history of this conflict and where he sees it going from here. So that will be a significant speech.
The speech will come one day after President Biden met with his Polish counterpart. He pledged more humanitarian and military aid for the region and visited U.S. troops. Yesterday, the White House announced the U.S. will accept up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees and provide $1 billion in support for European nations handling the massive influx of refugees. Utahns have played a pivotal role in supporting Ukrainians. That's one of the messages the Consul General of Ukraine for the Western United States shared in a special interview with Fox 13 News reporter Aaron Cox this week. As Aaron shows us tonight, there is still more the Consul General is hoping Utahns can do.
Dmytro Kuzhnurek serves as Consul General of Ukraine for the Western region, including states from Hawaii to Wyoming. Yet it is Utahns, he says, who have given unique support to the Ukrainian cause. The past month, Utahns have shown support.
Know that you have only one way to go, and that is up.
Sent messages of love.
Hey everybody, we're almost to a town called Medica.
Some have traveled to Poland to help refugees.
Working on the humanitarian side.
An outpouring of love that has caught the attention of Ukrainian leaders, including the Consul General of Ukraine in the Western U.S., Dmytro Kuzhnurek.
If you take the number of Ukrainian population here, which is relatively small compared to the other states, but the importance that the Utah pays to that is much higher than in other states, actually.
We're small in numbers, but have a loud voice.
Yeah, small population, but with big hearts.
Utah's heart is what brought Kuzhnurek to Salt Lake City to meet with Governor Spencer Cox and the First Lady, leaders at the World Trade Center, Latter-day Saint Charities, and dozens of organizations.
I would like to thank him for what's already being done, but I would like to address some more specific issues, like in what way the humanitarian aid could be provided.
Medical supplies, food, body armor, and helmets are the greatest needs in Ukraine right now.
The Ukrainian seaports have been apparently blocked by Russian ships, and then the delivery of food, delivery of any goods has been blocked. That is why the humanitarian aid or everything which could be collected here in the United States, in Utah specifically, is very important right now.
Kuznarek says he is not only asking Utah for humanitarian help, but hopes Ukrainian students can come and finish their schooling here.
People are not willing to, to immigrate. They just need to leave the country for some time while there is a war, and then to come back, because Ukraine has always been and will be a great place to live.
Kuznarek was born and raised in Ukraine. Before serving as Consul General, Kuznarek served as Deputy Chief of Protocol for the previous president of Ukraine. He held that position until President Zelensky's administration began.
What has this meant to you, not only to see the support, but also the devastation that's happening to your people?
We could never believe and never imagine that in my life I would see a situation like this to my country. What Putin did not expect is that Ukrainians as a nation, as many individuals who are united together, would fight so strong, because we are fighting for our own land.
In a personal tweet about his meeting with Kuznarek, Governor Cox wrote, "I believe Ukraine can win, and we should do everything possible to make that happen." In studio, Aaron Cox, Fox 13 News, Utah.
In those meetings, leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints committed $4 million, along with semi-trucks full of food and supplies for those in Ukraine. Stay with Fox 13 News as we continue to track the latest developments on the crisis in Ukraine, on air, on social media, and at fox13now.com.
Bob, this is the place. Beautiful day today. This is a picture from This is the Place Heritage Park. Thank you so much to Sergio for posting this picture in our Facebook group. What a view. You can see the Oakers off in the distance. You can see downtown. You can see things are starting to get green out there. The flowers are starting to bloom. One of our followers actually posted in our Facebook group all the flowers at Red Butte today that were starting to pop, and there was a lot of really pretty ones to choose from today. A record here in Salt Lake City. We hit 78 degrees, which beats our old record of 75, and we're normally in the upper 50s here in Salt Lake City, and we'll only be in the 50s for a low tonight. So we're going to have very warm weather continuing for a few more days. Right now it's 66 degrees here in Salt Lake City. A live look from our Olds Mill cam towards downtown Salt Lake City. Let me show you Futurecast, because we're tracking high pressure for the next few days. A nice clockwise flow, a westerly flow. Additional clouds this weekend and by Monday into Tuesday. That's our next storm moving in from the west. Into Tuesday evening, we're going to have scattered rain for much of the state. We had records today for much of Utah, tied a record in Provo today, and we're going to continue with some cooler temperatures next week, but for the rest of this weekend, very hot. By next Friday, we still have that chance for some storms here across the region. Temperatures right now here along the Wasatch Front on this Friday evening at 9:20. It is 68 in Draper. Look at that. 65 for Harriman, 60 for Lehigh, 50 for Tooele, 66 for Farmington, 41 for Alta. Right now, Alta tied a record today also. And for St. George, temperatures currently 70 degrees. A really comfortable evening here in Salt Lake City. We'll have you into the 50s for much of the overnight hours. So by the time that you wake up, it'll be in the mid-50s here in Salt Lake City. And more records are possible this weekend. Not only will we likely beat the daily records for Saturday and Sunday, we could hit 80 degrees. And if we hit 80, it would be our earliest 80-degree day ever here in Salt Lake. Right now, that date is March 31st, but if we hit it the 26th or 27th, we'll be beating that for about 5 days. So what we're tracking for the weekend is high pressure. We'll continue with nice conditions this weekend, but we're going to see increasing clouds, and our temperatures tonight dropping into the 50s with partly cloudy sky. So our overnight temps will be right around 50 to 55 for much of the Wasatch Front. Utah County dropping into the 40s, 47 for Provo, 45 for Eagle Mountain, 43 for Price at 6 a.m. Park City dropping into the 30s. So we're going to have more summer-like skiing this weekend, probably very slushy conditions for you. Temperatures here in Salt Lake even warmer than today, potentially. We could hit 79, if not 80 for a high. Tomorrow's daily high record is 78 degrees. So it'll be a really nice day Temperatures across Utah Saturday at 4 p.m. I'm really excited for you, but we will have partly cloudy to mostly cloudy sky, and the wind will be about 10 to 20 miles per hour. Many of us are in the 70s tomorrow, and our chance for precipitation starts to go up next Tuesday, so we'll have chances for some rain next week. St. George, you're close to 90 this weekend. We'll likely hit records Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, 74, 63 on Tuesday with a chance for some rain. Here in Salt Lake, we're close to 80 Saturday and Sunday. Monday, a high of 69, mid-50s for Tuesday with chances for rain. We'll talk more about next week's storms coming up later in the hour.
All right, thank you, Allison. With the Senate committee hearings on her U.S. Supreme Court nomination now over, what a group of BYU law professors are advocating for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. And Salt Lake police say they stopped a wrong-way driver who they found behind the wheel that made them even more concerned. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson is one step closer to a U.S. Supreme Court confirmation after a key Democrat announced his intention to support her today. Senator Joe Manchin has often been a swing vote in the evenly divided Senate, but today he said he'll vote in favor of confirmation. Now all eyes are on another Democrat, Senator Kyrsten Sinema, who has not yet announced how she'll vote. It's unclear whether any Republican senators will support Judge Jackson. The Senate Judiciary Committee is set to vote April 4th on whether to recommend her nomination to the full Senate. A group of BYU Law School faculty sent a letter to congressional leaders pushing for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to be confirmed. Our content partners at the Salt Lake Tribune report 16 professors signed the letter. It says Jackson is exceptionally well qualified and has a good record on religious freedom. For the first time in more than 2 months, Utah's 7-day average for COVID-19 cases has risen, but only slightly to 127 new cases per day, with 131 more people testing positive in the past day. Health officials continue to examine past death records and added 22 more cases to the toll. Just 5 of those Utahns died in the past day.
Coming up, one of the country's largest copper producers faces a potential worker strike here in Utah.
While Kennecott's union workers rally for higher wages, what's the landscape of union membership in Utah? We're going to show you the numbers and how much they've changed in recent years.
The children and the parents need to put a stop to it.
A Utah teen shot in the eye with a pellet.
This is absolutely crazy.
And police say a TikTok viral trend may be to blame.
Tracking more record heat with clear sky here across the state tonight. Let you know what you can expect for this weekend, what all-time record could be set, plus your next chance for rain.
Welcome back. Workers at the Kennecott copper mine rallied today, calling attention to contract negotiations between the employees and the company. Fox 13 News reporter Jenna Bree spoke with both sides as they try to avoid a strike.
They want to see something that shows them the respect that they deserve.
By a 2-to-1 margin, copper mine workers turned down Rio Tinto Kennecott's contract proposal last week.
The current proposal is less than what they expected to get, and housing and fuel and food and everything else going on, they feel like they need more.
The company offered the 850 workers a minimum first-year increase of 9.6%, additional raises for skilled trade positions to match market conditions, paid time off based on work schedules, and a simpler process to move up in the ranks. Union leaders liked it, but the rank and file said no.
This is a normal process. Every 5 years in the past, it comes time to renegotiate the contract.
Corporate Relations Manager Lita Deisley says Rio Tinto respects that union workers want to be heard.
We mine copper here. Copper is used every day. Each of us use it, whether it's in our phone, it's in your electric vehicle, it's in your computer. What we do here at Kennecott matters. More importantly, our employees matter.
Rio Tinto Kennecott is the U.S.'s second largest producer of copper. The company's annual report shows the Bingham Canyon mine produced 200,000 tons of copper in 2021 alone.
Mining is dangerous, and our employees work very long shifts. They work 12-hour days, and they also are working rotating shifts. So this isn't a 9-to-5 job, Monday through Friday.
Brandon Dew says right now, the workers do not want to go on strike, but they are prepared to if they don't get the higher wages they want.
We hope it doesn't come to that, but ultimately that's what workers have the right to do, is to have a work stoppage or a work action, and we that's definitely the last thing that anybody wants.
The current contract expires on March 31st. Negotiations will resume on Monday. In Daybreak, Jenna Bree, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Kennecott is one of a very few employers in Utah with a unionized workforce. Going in depth tonight, Fox 13 News anchor Max Roth takes a look at the presence of unions in Utah.
First thing to know, when you look at data on jobs and unions, you see three categories. There are people who are members of unions. Then there are people who are represented by unions they've chosen not to join. In other words, unions are in their workplace and negotiate contracts for everyone. And then there are non-union people, neither members nor represented by unions. The median weekly income for workers connected to a union in America was nearly $200 more than non-union workers' incomes in 2021. Utah has the third lowest level of union membership in the country, 3.5% of the workforce. At the turn of this century, Utah had more than twice the percentage of union members in the workforce. We'll add these red lines to show that last year, Utah had the biggest gap between union members and non-members represented by unions, 3.5% of the workforce belonging to unions, but that red line shows unions negotiate on behalf of 6.5% of Utah's workers. We made this map showing that same gap in every state, Utah's 3% outpacing all others. Even though 3.5% is a low number, union representation is not insignificant in Utah. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says 51,000 Utah workers belong to unions, many of them in high-profile positions like airline pilots, flight attendants, air traffic controllers, many federal workers, teachers, even the players on the Utah Jazz, represented by their respective unions. In the studio, Max Roth, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Salt Lake police are looking for a man accused of pointing a gun at two people outside a motel. The incident prompted a SWAT standoff last night and the evacuation of several rooms at the Main Street Motel. Police believe 48-year-old John Frere escaped before the containment was set up. Officers did find a gun in the room. No one was hurt. If you know where Frere may be, call 911. A 14-year-old is in juvenile detention tonight after being found behind the wheel of a stolen car going the wrong way in downtown Salt Lake City. It happened early this morning at 500 South Main Street. A Salt Lake City police officer on patrol saw the car going the wrong way and stopped it. They found the 14-year-old behind the wheel and other juveniles in the car. While the roads are well marked, officers say they find wrong-way drivers in this area often.
Obviously, with a 14-year-old driver, we have somebody who hasn't been through driver's ed, and that's a little bit different situation. But usually it's somebody either not paying attention or just not seeing those markings and turning the wrong way.
The owners of the stolen car reported $6,000 worth of property missing from the vehicle. The investigation continues. A man accused of peeping into homes in South Ogden has been arrested. Police say 69-year-old Jose Antonio Rosado is being held on suspicion of voyeurism, criminal trespass, and illegal parking. Officers said earlier this week they received 3 reports of him prowling the neighborhood of 40th and Madison.
Unfortunately, these types of events are often viewed as a very innocuous type of thing of kids just playing games.
Police in Utah are warning of pellet or airsoft gun shootings stemming from a TikTok trend. Hear from a Utah father whose daughter was shot in the eye.
And it was such a nice day today. Record highs here across Utah, more record weather on the way. Ahead of our next storm, the timing of that coming up.
Welcome back. A teen girl is recovering after being shot in the eye with a toy gun. It's believed to be another incident related to a TikTok challenge where people shoot airsoft or pellet guns at unsuspecting people. Fox 13 News reporter Eliana Sheriff explains why police and parents are worried someone could get killed.
Quite frankly, you don't mess with people's kids.
Nathan Litz says his daughter is waiting to find out if she'll have permanent eye damage after being shot in the eye Wednesday while walking from school to a friend's house.
She's handled it remarkably well and is recovering as best as I could say a person in this circumstance would.
His daughter was shot twice, once in the back, then in the eye.
And so it's kind of a 1 in a million shot, right, to hit somebody dead in the eye. They don't know what kind of projectile it was yet, so the ophthalmologists think it was actually possibly a steel pellet, which is kind of sickening.
And it's happening across Utah.
This is absolutely crazy.
In Draper, they've seen 7 of these Orbeez challenges reported in just 3 weeks.
Obviously, the part that is scariest about this trend is that they're shooting unsuspecting people. You don't know how those people are going to respond.
The children and the parents need to put a stop to it.
It's not the first TikTok challenge that's made headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Unfortunately, these types of events are often viewed as a very innocuous type of thing of kids just playing games. It's really aggressive harassment, and unfortunately in this case it's an incident of grievous bodily harm.
But this challenge in particular is getting out of hand, injuring people like Nathan's daughter, and it could ultimately lead to a young kid getting killed.
A lot of people carry concealed weapons legally. They can. They carry those weapons for self-protection. And if you have somebody point a gun at you and you have to determine really quickly if that's a real gun or a fake gun, the consequences could be very tragic.
Since posting about it on Facebook, Nathan says several people have come forward saying a similar thing happened to them. They are working closely with Ogden police and trying to find any surveillance video or witnesses that could help them get justice. In Ogden, Eliana Sheriff, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Nathan's daughter decided to return to school today. He says he's really proud of her strength through this and is optimistic she will make a full recovery. But it will be a process to see how much permanent damage has been done. Well, the warm weather may have you itching to take a trip to Utah's beautiful state parks, but you'll have plenty of company. Hear from park rangers about what you need to do now before any spring or summer trip.
And later in sports, it was Pro Day in Provo. Hear from BYU's draft hopefuls. While the Jazz tried to find a little momentum away from home, Donovan and company in Charlotte tonight. Back in a bit.
And one. Nearly 1,000 Utah students had potentially life-saving conversations about mental health today. There was a conference at Roy High School where elementary students learned the importance of self-care, boundaries, and other mental health matters. It was through the peer-to-peer suicide prevention group Hope Squad. The club's co-president at Roy High says if she sees warning signs, she doesn't hold back.
I'm always really straightforward about it. I'm like, are you contemplating suicide? Because if you beat around the bush, things can happen.
More than 360 schools around the state have a Hope Squad. District leaders believe it's a powerful tool because some students feel more at ease talking about their problems with their peers rather than with adults. If you or someone you know is contemplating suicide, help is available 24/7. Just call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Temple Square construction is entering a new phase. The Main Street Plaza between North and South Temple will close soon from April 11th until the fall of 2023. The closure will allow crews to repair the deck, refurbish the fountains, install a larger reflecting pool, and improve the landscaping. Spots at Utah's state parks are being snapped up as the weather warms up. Park rangers say the big weekends such as Memorial Day, Labor Day, and Easter weekend are already filling up. From picnic spots to day use to camping overnight, they say reservations are the best way to go.
State parks have seen, just like a lot of our areas across Utah, increases in visitation. We're seeing, over an additional 1 million visitors than we saw in the previous year, so 2021 versus 2020. With this crazy increase in visitation, not only at state parks, but to all of Utah's outdoor recreation areas, reservations for camping spots, once you have a weekend in mind, start planning for it.
Chavez reminds us you can't always count on first come, first served availability. So a word to the wise.
We are so lucky to live here, Bob. I know you know that.
Oh, yes. Every day I count my blessings. I look up at those mountains with just wonder and awe every single day.
Yes, this is 10 years since I've moved here, and I every single day just still pinch myself. I'm like, how lucky are we to live here, especially when we see pictures like this coming in. Stephanie posted this, and I knew I had to share it tonight. She posted that it was an endless sunset. This is Stansbury Island, and you can see the reflection of the sunset on the Great Salt Lake. What a view we have. We are so spoiled here. Today, we had a beautiful day. We had record highs. We'll have more record temperatures this weekend. So when you first wake up, it'll be where we typically are for a high this time of year. So mid-50s, 6 a.m. through 8 a.m., back into the 60s by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. And we look at satellite and radar, and what we're tracking for you is high pressure. So we're tracking just clear conditions for the most part. Air quality will be good this weekend for Saturday and for Sunday for the Salt Lake Valley. And then those temperatures 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Right around 45 degrees for Provo and Eagle Mountain. Price low 40s for the Cache Valley, and then close to about 50 to 55 for Salt Lake, Tooele, and Ogden tomorrow morning. So here's what you can expect along the Wasatch Front tomorrow afternoon. In Salt Lake City, 79 degrees for a high. Ogden, 75. Provo, 75 tomorrow. Partly cloudy sky, especially during the afternoon hours, with a breeze about 10 to 20 miles per hour. For central Utah, Cedar City 75, 76 for Richfield, St. George 88 degrees tomorrow, close to 90 this weekend, and for eastern Utah, Moab 83, Price 74, and for Vernal temperatures into the mid 70s with partly cloudy sky. So as I'm tracking Futurecast for you, here's what you need to know. We do have a few clouds in the forecast for this evening. We could see a few sprinkles here or there the next few days, but the main story for this weekend will be a lot of clouds and then a lot of wind picking up into Sunday evening at 5 p.m. Now, the good news about this direction is a few things. A couple of things to point out with this wind coming in from the south-southwest. It's going to be a really warm wind. That's going to pump our temperatures up basically like a heater on Sunday. And I also want to point out that this could cause problems for any travel along I-70 or along I-80. There's no warnings, no watches, no advisories out. Just something that we're going to want to keep our eye on. Along I-15 all throughout the state, though, it really shouldn't cause too many problems. So then by Monday, our next system arrives. So we're looking at Monday, 7 p.m. We start tracking scattered rain showers across the state. Snow levels will be really high out of this. So our I-15 corridor will mostly be rain. This will be into Tuesday evening. Then we'll see a little bit of a break. And then come Thursday, 9 a.m., some chances for some rain and snow. Snow up in the mountains, rain in the valleys. This quickly moves down towards the Four Corners into southeast and central Utah by Thursday at 9 p.m. For St. George, you're close to 90 this weekend. So you'll likely set some records for Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, a little bit cooler with a high of 74 degrees. And by Tuesday, 63 degrees in St. George. Overnight temps, mostly in the 40s and 50s, really comfortable mornings for St. George. Here in Salt Lake City, we will set daily highs for records this weekend for Saturday and Sunday. If we hit 80 this weekend, which I think there's a really good chance of, we were very close to it today, that'll be the earliest we've ever had 80 here in Salt Lake City. Mid-50s.
Are you going to take us all out to lunch?
You guys owe me lunch then, Bob.
No, I thought you said you'd take all of us out to lunch if we hit 80 or above.
Okay, I'll buy us a pizza next week if we hit 80 or above, okay?
No, I mean all our viewers, too.
Oh, that's going to be expensive. I'll have to get a raise. 55 by next Tuesday, and then we'll keep those temperatures pretty close to average through the rest of next week.
Pizza. Allison's doing sushi, I think. That's what I heard. The Jazz came into Friday holding on to fourth place in the West, but there's absolutely no cushion. Perhaps needing to snap a two-game slide to keep hold of that at the Hornets, where former Jazz man Gordon Hayward has been out since early February with a sore ankle. Nothing doing for Miles Bridges, at least the first time back to Bridges for a second chance. That one high percentage. Seconds left till the half. Watch the ball get kicked out for Donovan Mitchell here. He had a few seconds left, but perhaps didn't realize that. Drills the heave anyway. Go to the third, where Charlotte goes up 9. Is this Bridges again? Cleaning up, 26 for him to match Mitchell. Utah with the lead after 3. Jordan Clarkson, not 1 but 2 chances off the missed 3. Clarkson makes the second one at the quarter horn. Then Trent Forrest sees the Forest through the trees to Rudy Gobert. Game tied at 99 when the Hornets own the final 70 seconds. Terry Rozier with the hero shot. Utah's road woes continue as they've now dropped 3 straight.
I think we competed. You know, I'm not going to say we didn't give it. We went out there and did what we were supposed to do, but, you know, to lose 3 straight is tough.
Utah relying on the Timberwolves to keep them in 4th place for now. Dallas with an identical record coming in. Luka Doncic right through the legs for Maxi Kleber, but this was Minnesota's night. Karl Anthony Towns, good night. 116-95 the final there. Sweet 16 where St. Peter's has done it again. The Peacocks are the first 15 seed to ever reach an Elite 8. 67-64 over Purdue, while the lone number 1 left, Kansas, survived a late charge by Providence tonight. It was BYU's turn for Pro Day. Several Cougars electing to pursue the next level a year or 2 early. They all gave it a go before 29 NFL teams. Only 5 guys participating, one of the smallest pro days ever at the Y. Samson Nakua and Neil Pau leaving holes to be filled next season on the outside in Cougarville. Linemen like James Empey and Lopa Leotal as well, but most scouts were probably most excited about checking this guy out. Tyler Algiere trying to be the highest BYU running back ever taken and could be a Day 2 guy in Las Vegas next month. A thrilling opportunity for all of them.
It was cool just to be able to work out with these guys, and we talked about it leading up to it. It was just a dream come true for all of us to finally do it.
I'll be ready for whatever phone call comes my way, and whoever calls me up, I'll be ready to go over there and make a difference.
This was just the icing on the cake right now, so, you know, just top it all off, especially with a season like I had last year.
Kalani Sitake landed a 4-star recruit from SEC country today. Emmanuel Waller hails from Chelsea, Alabama, and passed up offers from the likes of Mississippi State, West Virginia, Wake Forest, Indiana, and Duke. At 6'4", 240 pounds, Waller is expected to be on the Cougars' defensive line beginning in 2023. A former safety signed a 1-year deal with the New Orleans Saints today. After 8 seasons with the Chiefs, Daniel Sorensen is joining former teammate Taysom Hill. Hill and Sorensen played 2 seasons together at BYU. Sorensen started 39 games and had 12 picks in Kansas City. And Tony Finau finally came up on the winning end in match play at the WGC Dell Technologies in Austin. He had a stretch of 5 straight winning holes early on the front 9 to go 4 up on Xander Schauffele. Salt Lake's own took it 5-4, though it wasn't enough to earn a bid into tomorrow's single elimination round. We'll be right back.
Thanks for being part of Fox 13 News at 9. Quickcast is up next. Have a great weekend.